Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our PrivacyTech podcast. Today we have a beautiful and great guest, Dan Thomsen, and
Beautiful.
today we will talk about automation of data compliance, and that's gonna be awesome. So, hello Dan, how are you? And
Good.
please tell us
Uh,
about what's your role in privacy and what do you actually do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Good. Hi, my name is Dan Thomsen, and thanks for being a guest on your show. I think it's awesome. I mean, the beyond privacy is something by law. It's actually good. We should respect people's. It's a you say it's from the UN Charter. It's to respect people's freedom and thereby also their privacy data. So it's not only you can say something you have to do by law, but it's actually the best and the good thing to do. Good. So if the question was, what do I do? So I've been in the software industry for many years. I started out with starting a search company, enterprise search company, many years back, and almost sold the company to Microsoft. Didn't get rich, but and Microsoft is really not good at search. Still not good at search. They bought a Norwegian product, belonged
Unfortunately.
to. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Google beats them, and everybody else beats them in the search space. They bought a Norwegian company. But long story short, so I have a background in search and classification, data classification, and then I've been in that industry for many years, and then from there on, I then built some other companies, sold some other companies, and then we got together. Three of my friends, or four of us, got together 6 years ago when the GDPR legislation was coming out. Said let's make it simple for people to become compliant with their data.
Mhm.
So it was taking that search and classification experience that I've done for many years, and then we started a company called Data and More. And what we do, if I should jump into that, Anton, stop me. I can keep talking forever, unfortunately.
No,
No, no,
it's
it's
really
fine. It's
interesting.
quite
That's
interesting
your
to
Good.
hear.
story. Yeah.
So what we do is there's a lot of companies that do a lot of enterprise compliance software. We do one thing only, and we do it really well. So what we do is that by law, you're not allowed to have privacy data lying around. So Anton, you send your CV to somebody. At some point, you did applied for a job, or I know you have stress. You're not coming on Monday, or whatever. So there's a lot of privacy data floating around. So what we do is we can go in and we scan unstructured data sources. That means all the big data sources that companies have where there's a lot of privacy data. So that's email, that's file shares, that's SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, etc. And then we identify the privacy data. And that privacy data, we say, okay, Anton, we found 226 files that have privacy data in them, and then we send you an email. Hi, Anton, the company has decided to be compliant. You click on the link. We show you your 226 files that have privacy data in them. We've classified them, a passport, a sick leave, whatever. You can preview them, see them, and you say, this I want to keep, this I want to keep, and the rest we delete. And this we send out every 3 months. So it's you can basically consider us a industrial privacy data vacuum cleaner. So we make sure that we identify the privacy data and we delete the privacy data.
That's a really great tool, I
Yeah.
just listen to you. I think that's really awesome because it's a problem of many companies. They do not know what do they actually have, and
In
that's
each country, there are two companies that don't have to delete privacy data. Two only. The rest have to. And that is the Secret Service from the police and the Secret Service from the defense. So it's not it's everybody except those two companies and organizations in each country. And actually, we've sold
If
to
you
one
talk,
of them also. Yeah,
I believe they're a good client,
yeah, yeah,
especially when it comes to their own agents.
yeah. No,
So if you don't mind
exactly.
me
So
asking,
please, sorry.
if you don't mind me asking, how do you do that in plain words? Just how do you understand that this piece of data is actually, private data, that is something personal, not some like, info company come, but something really personal.
Yeah, or you get a newsletter selling you the best new things after, I don't know, for a sore leg, and how come that sore leg in a newsletter is not something popping up at privacy health information? It's difficult. And that's where you can say that's the secret sauce we have. And it's a lot of different things we've done to be able to do that. And it's by no means simple. And there's very few companies that claim they can do what we do. We've never met anybody that can do what we do. And that's now I sound like a used sales car guy, but so what we did is we looked at the legislation, and the legislation is very broadly defined as privacy data. Anything that you have somebody that's identifiable, that have some sensitive data, or other types of information. Then we extrapolated that out and say, so what would that actually mean? So what health information would that actually constitute? What tax information? What all different kinds? What HR data? What psychology test data? What does that constitute? So we mapped that all out into what you could call kind of information type definitions, and saying so there's and it breaks down to 150 roughly types of privacy data in big buckets. Then, like any law, you then look at the rulings by the data authorities. So that there's a law that say you can't do that, but what does that actually mean? That's then defined in the fine. So if a data authority says, so we fine company X because they kept Y. Okay, then we find out, okay, Y is now also. So when we started, just to give you an example. So when we started out, we had all these privacy data, and then suddenly there was a ruling from the Danish data authorities that said that a taxi company got a huge fine because they kept my history of that I took a cab from this address to that address a year ago. So geolocation or travel information that you know where Dan is or where Dan was is also privacy data. Christ, we said. Then we need to flight all plane tickets, hotel bookings, travel, trains, all the what. And then we did that. So you create that definitions information. The reason why I can talk about it forever because I was responsible for it and I built it. So you build these definitions. That's part one. The second part, and you need to update that all the time also. The second part is then, what does that constitute in, let's say, Germany? So in Germany, if you have to go in and look at the German, there's one category called personal certificates. So there are 3 different ways you can change your name in Germany. There's not one way. There are 3 different documents that could alter the change of your name or gender or whatever. So we sat then with 150 definitions, and then we took each country and said, what is the local instance of that category? And then we mapped that. And then you end up with thousands. And then we have thousands, and then that means then we have somebody speaking Russian, speaking Finnish, speaking German, speaking French, speaking Swedish, speaking all these languages. So we sat there and we mapped that out all that information out, and then we built a classification to be able to identify and find that data. Good. Then the engine we have then identifies that data, and the way we found out is the process I just described before is that the best way to get people to clean up data is to show them what you're going to clean up, and then they all have to select things that should be cleaned up, and the rest just goes on kind of a conveyor belt and just drops out. So we have over 150,000 users now. So when they see that, so when Anton gets his report, 226 files, and he clicks on, let's say there's a driver's license, and then as an example, it could be a driver's license from Legoland. Anton has been, when he was 6-year-old, went to Legoland, and he took a driver's license at Legoland. And then he can actually also mark this as not a driver's license, even though we think it's a driver's license. It's not a driver's license. It's called false positive. We get feedback from 150,000 users on what's false positives, and that we incorporate also. We get user feedback. We also get user feedback. Why didn't you find that? So here's a piece of information. Why did you not find that?
So your community is pretty active, I see.
Yes. Yeah. Then that's one thing, or that's a second or third or fourth thing. The last thing is, because we have this classification engine runs, so let's say Anton's company has our solution. It rather runs as a software as a service in any data center in the world they like. So it normally is in Europe. But we can also run on premise. So let's say Anton has a company, there's 500 people employed, or 1,000 people employed, and let's say you have, Anton, you have 60 million files. You have a lot more than you think. the server runs at you in your data center, so we have the server running there. When we build new classifications, we build them every day. We improve the classification. So all of our instances of our software actually subscribe to a global classification.
Mm-hmm.
So when I found out if the word Lego is on a driver's license, not a driver's license, I'll update the classification, and all servers are updated with that. So they dynamically then re-update when they get the newest subscription to that classification. But the thing we can do in addition to that is when we test a new classification, so we have a whole team that builds new classifications. When we test them, we actually test them on roughly 500 million data sets. So you first find out if a classification works if you run it on large volumes. And we can run things on large volume. We have billions of data from our customers. They don't leave the premise of the customer, but we can put so there's the live classification, and then there's an underlying test classification. We look at then how does that. So we go out to Anton's company, we have a look at Anton's systems when we log on and see, okay, so our new driver's license classification actually works better, and then it goes live. So we don't wait for a rescanning or something. We can instantly, dynamically test a classification of 500 million data sets.
That sounds really awesome. Like the future has come to
yes.
data privacy.
Yes, and then you say, then the world changed 2-3 years ago. AI, fantastic. and if you ask anybody with AI, they say AI is fantastic for classification. And so we thought, awesome. We spent a lot of time, and maybe that was not worth it to spend all that time to build all those classification rules and looking at all that stuff and mapping it up to all the different document types and different formulas they have.
You have to try to understand whether it is worth it.
Good. But we thought we would be the best in the world to actually train a large language model, because we can okay, you want 1 million something, we give you that. We can give you 10 million, that's not that. So we thought we could actually train language models by giving them vast amounts of data and not data. It worked like shit. We tried every way we possibly could to fine-tune it. There's so much hallucination, or I can't pronounce it. Never mind. The accuracy was shitty. It's not because they can't do something, but it way overshot in the privacy classification. And then we can't use it. And the good thing with our infrastructure is we can benchmark it, say, okay, let's see what and this is, we used Llama from Facebook. We also tried it with OpenAI. And it looks shiny and fantastic, but so far we've come down to actually not large language models, but just language models. So now we trained, but very structured language models. We build our own language models but only for some types of classification. But we make sure we benchmark them, and then they have the right degree of precision. Yeah. So you say, what's the secret sauce we have? It is, we've spent so much time on all these different languages and all these different instances of data, and looked at so much data that we have a higher precision than anything we've seen.
That's a really great story, and thank you for sharing it. So I see that you have a great topology, and you, by empirical way, you day after day you make it better, and adapt to ever-changing world. Because it's changed every day. We have new documents, new data, and so on.
New diseases, new unions, new churches, new religions, new all kinds of sexual orientations, new genders. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you for that story, and let's move on then. Maybe to something more like not general, but really important. Not general, I mean not such specific. Okay, so PrivacyTech is on its way to become like a new normal for privacy pros. For example, like me or like Kate. So companies come to us and tell us, okay, we have this amount of data, what should we do with it, and so on. And how exactly automation of data privacy governance may help DPOs or privacy pros to do their work? Why we can use just Excel or spreadsheets and move on with something?
Yeah. Like I said, let's say so when we talk to companies, let's say there's only 2 organizations in a country that are not allowed to keep it. So the 99.9999999% of the companies actually have to clean up their privacy data. There's a few companies that say, oh, not few, all big companies, the way they solve it is they write an email out. You're not allowed to keep it. You go figure out to find it and delete it. And the challenge there is that, first of all, you have the average user has 55,000 data sets, and nobody can read through 55,000 data sets. That's one thing, and nobody knows the law either, so they don't know what they look for. So manual cleanup does not work. So the way we do it is what I showed you before. So you have a system. Let's say if you run in Office 365, it's really easy. We have a SaaS solution. We connect to Office 365, and 2 weeks later we start sending out emails to the employees, and we do that on 3 months basis, and everything is automated. The DPO gets a compliance report. We found, I don't know, 16 million privacy data. Now you're down to 2 million, and those we're deleting within the next 3 months also. So it's the automation of it, and the DPO doesn't have to do anything. It's basically with the vacuum cleaner that does it, and we improve the classification, and everything is automated for the DPO. And what we found out by doing this, so our biggest competitor is doing nothing. Basically, they all have to be compliant, and unless they bought our software, nobody is, kind of. Then what we see now also as a driving factor are 2 new trends in this space. So you could say, so the one part is that you need to be compliant. You can't have privacy data lying around. The second part is, if you have privacy data, and everybody has, unless they cleaned it up, lying around, and you have a data breach, pardon my French, the Danes are direct, you're fucked. So the more privacy data you have, because when you get hacked, the commodity is privacy data. That is the ransom.
Yeah, more data, more risks.
Yeah, but not the more risk. I mean, once they're in, what they go and threaten you with is privacy data. We will expose that privacy data unless you pay us that money. So the more privacy data you have, the bigger. IBM actually just calculated that in their 24 data breach cost, $171 per privacy data is the cost. So let's say you have 1 million of them. Yeah, because you have to notify the people. So the more data privacy data have, the bigger the cost for a data breach. And that can be life-threatening for companies. So that is a driver also for our argument for customers to say, if you have a lot of privacy data and don't delete it, you're screwed if you have a data breach, because then it's dramatically more costly. And the cost for our software compared to a data breach, oh, Christ, it's a bargain. And also to be compliant compared to the fines. But the other thing that we then did is that when you have, we've done that for large companies, you've had a data breach, then by law you have to notify Kate and Anton, we're sorry, your passport, your driver's license, your credit cards, and your whole love life is now in Russia. Best regards.
No.
Yeah. You have to notify the data subject that that data is now compromised, is in Russia. Good. That is really tricky because people don't know what they have. Let's say you have there's 100 million files on a file server, an email, wherever, and they got in. You don't know whose data is in there because how do you know? Is it any name? No, it's only if it's Anton's something or Anton's sick or Anton's something. So we extended our engine to actually be able to identify not only what type of privacy data also, but who is the data subject. So once you've had the data, we've solved some the biggest case in Denmark last year, and they wrote in the newspaper, they found that that's all us finding it. And we then told the company, you need to write to these people that they're screwed. So we couple the privacy data with a data subject analysis and then say, so for Anton, we found these 16 different types of privacy data, and that's what you have to tell Anton. They don't do that. They just tell Anton, something got moved, but we can actually tell them what got moved. So that's on the data subject and data breach side. So you would say it's for us, we help with that also, and that's a cost side for a company. The more risk, the more cost. So the data breach actually gives an incentive. If you're compliant, your data breach is very limited cost and not a life-threatening event as it is for some companies. That's the second part that drove, you say, the market, also is driving the market. The third one is AI. So then if you look at what Microsoft does, is they try to push out Copilot. So that's Microsoft AI, and Copilot will help you write emails. Ta-da! And Copilot will let you write support cases, and Copilot will write you whatever. Good. If you have, how can I say it? It's not if you have. Any organization that hasn't used an automated tool with the quality that we have, we've not met any like us, but never mind, but that doesn't have that quality, has illegal privacy data. When you start Copilot, what Microsoft tells you is you are now hereby certifying that everything doesn't have illegal privacy data, but everybody has. So when you let Copilot run on your data, you're hitting the switch for a full data breach, because you now, Kat's illegal data that you have in your inbox is now in Copilot. And that's a problem. So you can now ask things about whatever. That's part one. You're doing a full-blown privacy data breach with Copilot. Everybody that's implementing Copilot, anybody listening here, anybody that's running Copilot without cleaning up privacy data is doing a full-blown data breach, period. That's one big thing. So if you want benefit, we'll help you make the world's best, easiest Copilot, because what we can do is, in the Microsoft world, there's something called sensitivity labels. So we can just put a sensitivity label on it, and then Copilot will exempt that file. So your sick leave, Copilot won't look at that. They'll look at the business records, not all the stuff they shouldn't look at. So we automate the whole thing to keep that compliant. The second challenge there is with Copilot is, in an inbox, it's very simple. Anton, you have access to your inbox. Kate does not have access to your inbox. That's no problem. But if you go outside the mail system, no company is not oversharing data, because I need access to that folder. I need access to that folder. You just started. So all companies have massive oversharing, and oversharing is the word for that the access controls are not set properly. And that means when you let Copilot run on it, you let Copilot analyze data, you should not have access to it. And because AI is very intelligent in that sense, you can say, okay, what examples of fraud are going on in my company? Is the CEO having an affair? What kind of sexual misconduct is going on in HR? If they have access to the data, Copilot will tell you to. I want all the passport numbers of every employee in the company. Here they are. I want all the. You can query Copilot with language, and therefore they will actually bring you passports, sick leaves, fraud, anything. Doing that also. So if you want to use Copilot, and there's a lot of benefits, or any other AI, you also need to clean up privacy data.
Yeah, sharing information with third parties who actually provide you AI services is always risky and tricky, because you never know actually what you are sharing and how it shall be used.
Exactly. No one knows that. And then the what we found out also then, so we have this privacy classification. Then we've used the same infrastructure and classification capabilities we have to actually find what you could call security risk information, because it's the same problem. You could ask Copilot, I want the password of Kat. I want her login and password information. And they will show all the emails of all the login and password information that Kat was sent. When you get passwords, when you get, and then people think they're clever, they send them in two different, not in an AI world. I mean, they'll find the logon and the password and put those two together. So what we've built also is a security risk information cleanup, the same way we do with privacy data. Because if you let that to Copilot, you basically give Copilot the keys to the kingdom. Sorry, not the kingdom, the keys to the kingdom. Give them all log-on and access rights. Okay, oh no. So you give an AI the access rights to all systems in a company.
Yeah, maybe because many companies and the respective officers don't understand actually that AI is not a spy, of course, but it actually looks what it needs to look, and it's hard to control them, even for those who try to do so. Okay, let's move on from this question.
Sorry, actually, let's also have the same. If a hacker comes into your mail system, they have all the keys to all the other systems also.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on, because we have timings, and now Kate, maybe your next question.
Sorry for talking so much, Kate.
No, it's great.
No, it's okay. I was mesmerized. Don't mind me. So it's usually we were continuing with the topic, like you have a DPO and you say like, okay, you are now a DPO, so we'll buy you some tools for you to work with, something of the kind. But can it be that companies are expecting that at some point the privacy governance will be so automated, like 100% automated, so you don't need a human operating the software? So how do you think, can it be like the assessment, the audits, the documentation, everything that's in the loop of this data lifecycle can be, for example, achieved by not by one single instrument like yours, for example, but for example by a suite of instruments that you can also provide, eventually you can go grow. I think you are thinking already about other projects that will, contribute to this suite.
Actually, we would rather stick to being the best in one thing than because there's so many other compliance softwares out there. But you're right. No, so the question is, couldn't it be automated?
Yeah.
You say anything that's automated, there's actually a tremendous amount of work behind it. So it sounds easy on the front end that it's automated, but nobody can automate something without somebody actually going through all the process and thinking all the scenarios and covering all bases. You say our solution is pretty much automated, our small part of it. And I have a hard time knowing how many of the other components, in a compliance suite of software products can be automated. Well, I would assume more, but there must be some
Let's talk about
decisions.
Risk assessments. Usually when people talk about automation, they want to, to outsource the risk assessment to someone else, not to do it manually or themselves. So they are usually looking for some kind of tool that would help them to, to notice some risk, to mark them, to make a spreadsheet maybe, or something of the kind. So
you could do
basically that. Most of the software, what do? They just generate you a questionnaire of some kind, and
it's actually not complicated. We call them big task management systems, like a big Excel spreadsheet. How many vendors you have? 16. Tasks, How many data processing agreements you have? 14. You're missing 2. Okay, that's not really rocket science. So yes, there could be a lot of automation in that field, and you're right. There could be a lot more of automation, but there must be a few things you have to do some things. But you are, and you say, we come from Denmark, and the design philosophy here is less is more. I mean, the less our software is shown, the less it does. It basically completely automated. I mean, had this been, had it been IBM or whatever built this, and then they would have built a huge consulting arm around it and a lot of meetings and a lot of consulting work and implementation. For us,
but you feel that the work is being done, everyone is invested, everyone is working.
Yeah, exactly. But we would rather, so we've gone the automation way. Can we onboard 1,000-man organization with 3 meetings? Yes. And it's up and running. They can call us any day they like. But it's so we've automated the shit out of it, but and I think you could do more. So if the cat, okay, I think yes, you can. Is it Cat or Kate? Sorry.
Okay.
Kate.
Same. Actually, it sounds like Kateryna, but
Kateryna.
It's just like it's very, very long. So I usually go by Kate or
good.
Cat.
Yeah. Okay, then both. Yeah. But so you can automate. More will be automated. But what we found out is, let's say in our little space, that Microsoft say they can also find some data. So people think it's automated with Microsoft, but the thing is, just because somebody claims it's automated doesn't mean they do the job they should do. You actually need to be able to, you need to benchmark it. You actually need to validate that it actually does it also.
And there is always someone sitting and supervising everything, because some person must be accountable for the process.
Yeah.
So it was like a big disillusionment, when
there's some you can automate a lot. Yeah, you can automate a lot.
So there's also some people that are sitting backstage and just overseeing everything and doing, interventions when something goes wrong.
But you could also do some benchmarks. Let's say that. So what are the outliers? So this company, if you see you automate a lot of stuff, but then you can also track who's the outlier. Why is this happening at company X? And then you can look deeper into those things. So I think the automation will just get better and better and better. But you need to trust. There's a lot of trust in that also.
But trust leads to data breaches, and data breaches is something that Anton is usually very interested in. So I think that he has a question in this one for you.
Yeah. So according to our plan, I was passing this CIPM exam in EAP, and there is a question. Yeah, there is one question what do you gonna do first upon the data breach? And there are different options, like notify someone internally, or try to make this data breach not happen, to close it somehow, and some more. And there was no option like scream internally or scream loudly. Like
exactly.
that, because okay, the breach is going on. What is actually going on? What are we losing? Is it like stopped or no? Like
Can
how
you
far it
pretend
was?
it never happened?
Yeah. Okay, I just close it.
Some will pop that question. Do we have to tell
Yeah.
anybody?
Always,
and-
there's always this person in the room.
Yeah. I mean, what we see sometimes when there's been a data, I mean, how can I say, when I see something in the news that some data center had server problems and there were hacking attempts, and now they're closing down the business. They don't want to admit that there was a breach. They don't want to. They just basically shut everything down and say. So anybody that's been hacked has had a data breach, basically. But not everybody that's been hacked will admit that they had a data breach.
Yeah, sure. So, for people, maybe for teams who may suffer from those cases, and actually, all the market may, and it's not a question maybe will we suffer from data breach, but when somehow, because like it's our today's cybersecurity and all this stuff, and the question is like, can we have something in our software? Some software that will help us to overcome this data breach, or at least to react to it properly. So you mentioned all the stuff that you can actually help with understanding what data about each person we have. Maybe you can tell us more like how it works and what maybe other possibilities are to make this data breach go more like smoothly, not to make it not like a disaster at all.
Yeah. I mean, it is what I described before. So the first thing is it's easier to have cleaned it up before the data breach. Let's say you haven't done that. So buy our software now. But once you've had a data breach, like close the loop, I mean, close the hole, get the security in, get all of that. The part we do is the reporting and the notification to the users. And it is, to go into detail, it's really complicated. But because you need to find the data subject, then you need to find the data surrounded, the privacy data for that data subject. But let's say I find that data, Anton, and I needed to tell you that data. I can't send you that data because Kate's data might be in your data also. So you actually have to cleanse the data. You actually have to, we found this on you, but we can't actually send it to you because that would compromise other people again. So we can tell you what was breached and what type of information, so you know what type of information that sits in the dark web for you in another country. So we analyze it, classify it, report, and I give you the list of the data subjects and what type of information, and then the companies can notify those people. And then what then happens is we normally then do a big cleansing job, because what happens is, it's like in a hotel, they got into 3 rooms and there's 500 rooms. Then we start cleaning the rest up. So that's how we got a lot of companies also, that they got in somewhere, we cleaned it, and they're really happy with that process. And then they say, let's clean the rest of the room. So if somebody comes in, then it's solved.
Yeah, so it's a way to be in more control we as a data breach, and it's a way to actually maybe even to show the authority that okay, yes, we have got a little data breach, yes, we managed it properly, and yes, we've deleted all the data before, so that we are more compliant now, and people suffered less because of this data breach because we have it like in a better way, in a way that it needs to be.
Because anybody that has a data breach will get a GDPR fine in the second wave. Because the data breach means that they had some privacy data they should have deleted. So the data authorities normally kindly wait a little bit, and then they slam them with a fine afterwards. And once you've been fined, they will actually the audits will be more frequent at your premise. So then you need to clean up. We've seen also, it is data breach, but it's not it's a different type of data breach. So we've had customers that say, so these 5 gigabytes or 50 gigabytes of Denmark were sent to, or Spain, or to China. What was in it? So we have a privacy classification, but basically we can classify anything. We can find IP documents, all kinds of stuff. So we sometimes also do, you can say, kind of a data classification, generic data classification. What is in data that has left somebody, copied something to somebody, and they're suspicious of what was that actually? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Kate, your next question.
I don't know. I was thinking just about AI tools that you mastered and that you decided, well,
We're
I understand
constantly
that you decided
working on
to.
it. Yeah, we're
I
constant,
see.
but we are
It's in
underwhelmed with the
progress.
accuracy. So we just developed 50 language models for different types of data classifications, but they're not large language, they're dependency models or dependency parser models, where we built some dictionaries and then we did some grammatical analysis on that and so on. So they're more controlled language models than AI. But we have a team that works with AI constantly, and we're still underwhelmed of the precision. So even if you're down to one document and we ask the AI, how many data subjects are in this file? And they will always overshoot sometimes. I mean, not always, sometimes, but they will too many times overshoot. There's 6 people in this document and there's only 2. There are not 6 people in this document.
Yeah, because it's hard for AI. For example, you have like, okay, Anton went to the forest with his dog Jack.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
how many persons are here?
Yeah, exactly.
In this case.
Oh Christ, yeah, I tell you a lot of stories. Yeah, exactly. And then Anton's mom, is that a new Anton now, or is it the same one that had a dog? Is it 2 different Antons? And it is tricky. It is really tricky.
Yeah.
And it's actually like, there is a big problem with discrimination, maybe with some other identity things, because there are postings like blog posts about dead naming used in AIs, because they remind you of your old person that you are no longer. And well, discrimination may be some kind of, because the AI may find something that you're not aware of. For example, if it has, like you say, if it has a little snitch in your systems and you work in a DNA lab, for example, and at some point you've been tested by DNA, or for example, someone was running like some testing thing and it was just happened, it was like your piece of hair or something of the kind. And it can know something that you don't know. And it is quite frightening to find out that, for example, your colleague was testing the DNA tools on your hair, because,
I know.
Trust is ruined.
Yeah, it is. But that's a great. But basically, we also see there's a lot of potential for a lot of automation and a lot of good things. But also what we like, because there's a few companies. There's an American company that went only the AI way, and we're just thinking you have no. It's like if you do a test, they have no. How do they benchmark? I mean, if you don't know the answer or just have another way of testing, you have no way of benchmarking. So you might be overshooting, you have no clue. You might be undershooting, you have actually no clue of testing. So you need a lot of possibilities to validate and optimize and trim what you're doing.
Yeah, so training.
Yeah.
But it requires trust too, because, well, at some point people just like be, okay, you can use my data just to validate and train and see what happens. And it's not something that people are prone to right now, because everyone hears that AI, and the first thing that they can think of is like Terminator, maybe. Optimus
and
Prime,
it might
anything
happen, God forbid,
Doomsday
unfortunately.
Machine, anything else, but so how do you think, we are going to the future, will people eventually learn to trust AI, or there is always a need for some agency somewhere here, a person to be accountable for, or a company to get all the liability on them? Or can we just at some point just like say, okay, AI, you can do everything, I believe you, like you won't do me any harm?
I think we are. I think it's a slope. We're just sliding down that slope. And you think how many interactions we have that's an AI logic behind, we don't know. Basically, I think it's just a slope. So we'll have bumps on that slope and we'll trust more and more. And then maybe there will be trustworthy AIs that look out for you for you'll have AI that also takes care of your security, that tries to test other AIs, and there'll be a battle between the good and the bad AI and so on. So I think we'll trust it more and more and more. And there will be some grave mistakes also, and some not grave mistakes.
Eventually, because it's like human nature to do such things.
Yeah, exactly. If there's a button, we'll eventually push it to do something. You're right. I think we will trust it more and more and more. I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
Just
Kate,
for people working.
you just said like some privacy things, and I've heard like not privacy, identity things, and I've heard like identity sins. And I saw like, yeah, AI might do some identity sins with our data, like not intentionally, but hallucinating and all that stuff. So there, for now, there must be a human in the loop, a human oversight over this stuff, because it's not, it's just the way it has to be.
Yeah,
And that's
but I
it.
mean, you could say
We always want someone that we can ask for.
yeah, but there's not. I mean, the volume of data is so big now. I don't think there's anybody overlooking. But I'd say that there's some. I don't know. I'm just thinking. Let's say
At least a
Microsoft.
general human in the loop, not in the every case, but
Yeah,
at least someone.
But if you, I mean, so he can look at three, I don't know, 25 trees in a forest of 16 billion. Yeah, he can look at those 25 trees. He doesn't see anything. But I mean, it's just every data for a company that's saying your Office 365 is in the cloud and Microsoft runs Copilot and you can ask Copilot. But I'm not saying Microsoft, but somebody could also at Microsoft ask Copilot. So how are their numbers going to be? I mean, who once the data is out, how do you control who accesses some? And there's probably a whole range of things at Microsoft, so you can't do that. I'm sure there is, but it's just what we found out. The way you can trigger prompts for AI to get stuff out you shouldn't get out is so easy. You just start in one way, and then you slowly move in a different direction, and then it will actually give you whatever you want. So yeah.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
It's like it works more in copyright questions and the copyright issues. Like, just tell me the text of some article which I can have access to it because it's prohibited and prepaid. Can you tell me the first abstract, please? Not whole one, just one, just the first one, and then second one. Okay, and then send some privacy data and so on. Okay. So yeah. Thank you very much for being with us today. It was really informative and great episode. I believe we found out how it can be done. Actually, it's just understanding the way some software can track the personal data inside your databases. I think it's really valuable, and it's a great start for data inventorization for a company. Because when we as DPO come to someone and just say, "Okay, tell us what do you have regarding data," they, "Okay, we will spend a half of year to understand what we actually have. This department, that department." And in case of using such software, for example, we could do it faster and more effectively for sure.
Yeah, and clean it up.
So,
It's done.
So thank you for this, introduction to PrivacyTech, basically. Thank you for this bootcamp. So I certainly hope that we keep in touch, because the product you're developing is wonderful. I'm going to buzz Anton to try it out.
Yeah, sure.
You're more than welcome. And there's a free version of it on our website. You can try it yourself. Also, the classification, everything.
And we started it right now. Yes.
Yeah. We started in North America and going into Germany.
Yeah.
Super. Thanks.
Cache our personal data on downloading your free product.
Yeah.
Free version.
Finally, I will know what Anton keeps on me.
Okay.
So,
thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
It was wonderful. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.